été plus vite que je pensais. Alors, bonsoir, bienvenue
Good evening
à tous.
and welcome to everybody. Welcome to this regular public meeting of the Dieppe City Council, February 24th. We will start with the land acknowledgement. The city of Dieppe recognizes that the land on which it operates, it is part of the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. And I would ask you, dear colleagues, to have the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Do we have quorum this evening? We do, so let's move on. There are no announcements. Call to order, we've already done that. Confirmation of quorum has been done. Conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest this evening? No. So we'll require a motion. Just a second here. The adoption of the agenda. It's been moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Turgeon-Roy. On the question, if all those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. Minded, nay. It's carried as presented. Which brings us to inquiries, presentations, inquiries, and petitions. Inquiries by council members. We have the privilege this evening of having the boss here this evening. We're going to make him blush a little. I doubt it. I doubt it. Does anybody have any questions for the representative of the RCMP? I'm trying to find your mic, but good evening, Your Worship, councillors, and not the vast number of members of the public, but there are people here. Thank you for welcoming me here. Sergeant Hébert sends her regrets. She had to go to Fredericton for a training session, but she did prepare a report for me, and as always, I'm available for your questions afterwards. First of all, just an update on Community Policing Unit. Just today, on February 24th, the officers of the Community Policing Unit went to the Carrefour to present to make a presentation on cybersecurity to the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. It's presentations that we give in a number of the schools in all 3 municipalities. This internet safety is very important, as you can imagine. Our youth have their devices stuck to their hand all day. My daughter is among them. So it's very important, especially today. It's important to encourage the kids and the parents to monitor what your kids are doing. But you can go to a cyber help website to get tricks and tips to better protect your children. The Community Policing Unit also went to a ceremony for the award winners of the King Charles medals last Friday. They were their red surge for the activity. It's always a wonderful activity. And it's just a time to remind residents and council, if there are events that you would like the RCMP to attend, this is the kind of event that we are pleased to participate in. Now, winter is coming to an end, so we can think of different events, whatever within the spring coming. If you have any events for bike safety or anything, we'd be delighted to participate. And the crime reduction unit has been very busy as well. The investigators focus on the individuals that cause the greatest harm to the communities. Just last week on last Thursday, they executed a search warrant in a residency in the area in the Moncton area. A 46-year-old woman was arrested. She had an arrest warrant against her already, and we were able to seize a number of drugs, coke, meth, some legal prescription medication, and other paraphernalia. Now, the team continues to work in all three communities to fight against the individuals who continue to sell illegal substances. Now, in terms of the patrol unit, I think this is a follow-up. There were thefts of vehicles. Just to give you a few statistics, and this includes all of the thefts of vehicle over the Kodiak territory. So in 2023, for example, there were vehicle thefts were 475. 509 vehicles had been identified on the RCMP information system as being stolen. In 2024, when we look at the figures, it's 424. So a slight decrease, but once again, this is a fairly stable number. There hasn't been a major increase in the number of thefts. And this is what we see in this social network. Quite often you see people say that it's out of control. But when you look at the figures, no, the number of thefts reported went down between 2023 and 2024. Now, one thing I must mention to residents and to council is that most of the vehicles that are stolen are done so as crimes of opportunity, where the individual will leave the keys in the vehicle, or the vehicles are unlocked as well. And I've already mentioned this here to council, where somebody goes into a store, goes into a Tim Hortons, or goes into a convenience store just to pick something up very quickly, leaves their engine running outside, and when they come out, well, the car is gone. So quite often it's the contrary that we hear in the social mediums. People say vehicles are stolen from our driveways in the middle of the night, the doors are locked. Yes, that does happen, but most of the time there are crimes of opportunity where the keys are in the vehicle and quite often the engine is running. But the patrol unit and those who work on the crime reduction unit are continuing to work on this with our criminal analysts. We can almost predict which day of the week there are going to be a greater number of vehicles reported stolen and even where. And what we notice is that it moves around by zones. And one day it's that neighborhood, the next day it's that neighborhood. Because somebody who steals vehicles, well, can't steal them from the same place all the time because they'd get caught very quickly. So we use the information and we analyze this to determine the days, the times of day in order to deploy our staff to try and stop these people. Now, since the last report and this last presentation to council, just in the Dieppe territory, we've had 34 violations for tickets given for road safety. That's just for 8 days between February 10th and 18th. This is something that we're trying to focus on more because we can stop people for speeding or for their seatbelt. And once again, it's important for residents to call us. I can give you an example. Just this week, in the Moncton area, people were talking on the social networks about one vehicle. There was one vehicle, a red vehicle, and it was a lady driver who was driving dangerously, but nobody had called us. So it's one of the councillors of the city of Moncton warned us. So we saw a video on the social networks, and we were able to identify the vehicle. We could see the license plate. So we went to knock on her door. We gave her a warning, and we sent patrollers in that area. So we kept an eye out. And just today, We were able to see that she was driving dangerously. She didn't have insurance. So it's important to tell us because we can't be everywhere all the time. So we do want information from the residents. If there's one little blue vehicle that is very noisy, like Jean-Marc has already shared with me several times, that's where we will send our officers. And Sylvette had written this too. On February 20th, last week, we got a call about individuals who were stealing from vehicles in Surette Street, on Surette Street in Dieppe. Two individuals were fined and they were arrested and they were in possession of stolen goods. And once again, thank you to the residents for having contacted us because once again, we can't be everywhere all the time. But when we get the call, we're pretty good at getting to the zone and arresting the person and having them face justice. And I'm available for your questions. Questions from Councillor? Councillor Godet. Thank you for that information. There were 452 vehicles stolen in 2023 or 2024. In which area? Oh, that's in the three communities, Moncton, Riverview, and Dieppe. 475 in the whole territory. Councillor Brideau. Thank you. No, he asked my question. Thank you, Your Worship. Any further questions from council? If there are none, thank you. Thank you. And I know our CAO is going to contact you about some changes that we have previously discussed. Yes, thank you. Excellent. Thank you. So let's move on then. Questions from members of the public. Our vast public is just as quiet this evening as they have been over the last few weeks. So we're not complaining, mind you. We must be doing something well. Yes, I'm sure we do things well. Nobody on the web either. Okay. Let's move on to adoption of the minutes, and this would be the minutes of the regular council meeting held on February 10th, moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Janin. Ready for the question? And if there are no questions, all those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, nay. It is carried as presented. Which brings us to item 11, motions, memorandums, and nominations. 11.1, administration. 11.1.1, the Kodiak Regional Policing Authority, analysis, and staffing increases. Mr. Melanson, thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. This is our first file this evening for in regards to the RCMP. You know that all cities have challenges in terms of meeting their financial obligations and the increases to our budgets and the increase of cost. The CRPA budget has gone up very dramatically over the last few years. As you well know, there were projections that major increases were to come over the next few years as well. And just to take a little step back, you'll remember that Dieppe, Moncton, and Riverview had collaborated on the development of the Perivale-Taylor report that contained 6 recommendations. So this is at the basis of what we're asking the CRPA. What we understood from the chair of the CRPA and our representative on the board, an action plan is being developed. There should be certain objectives that will be developed. We've had certain versions of this during our last budget process. We've heard about certain objectives, but it's not has been completely clear yet. So we're proposing this resolution in order to have a concerted approach with the other municipalities and the CRPA to work on performance indicators in order to better understand and get involved in the analysis and in the needs of each of the communities so that this is integrated in the action plan. And we're also asking to have a comprehensive data analysis on the way the staffing increases that were approved in 2025 and the 17 new positions, how this will impact the key indicators. Yes. So this will be able to give us a better financial predictability and better and measurable results. So the RCMP has to measure the impact of the service in 2026 by adding, when they add the new hires in 2025, the analysis should be presented to the executive committee, and we ask for it every year before the budget process. So we ask for it to be done, to present it to the executive committee. So this is why you have this resolution here this evening, and it contains the reference elements. We're asking the 3 cities to read and adopt this resolution, the 3 communities. So the administration here, as well as the other 2, are recommending that their council adopt this resolution and start the work in this regard. Thank you. Who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Godbout. Thank you, Worship. Move that prior to any future substantial Kodiak Regional Policing Authority CRPA budget request that include further staffing increases being proposed, the CRPA will provide Dieppe City Council with a comprehensive data analysis of how the 2025 approved staffing increases have impacted key performance indicators mutually agreed to by the CRPA and the tri-communities, so that any request for additional staffing increases can be evaluated based on such data. And furthermore, the municipalities request that the CRPA adhere to the budget submission timelines included in the CRPA budgeting policy G407, specifically that initial budget submissions shall be brought forward to the Executive Insight Committee no later than 6 months prior to the budget year, and I so move. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Turgeon-Roy. No, I'm sorry, Councillor Godbout. It's been moved by Councillor Godbout and seconded by Councillor Brideau on the question. I would just like to add something, if you allow me. So, being the representative of council on the CRPA board, what I'd like to confirm is that the measures that are being asked here will not be new requests of the CRPA. The CRPA will be able to meet these demands. They're working towards it. The key performance indicators are being worked on, but this is a way to make sure that we have initial discussions so that the work is done quickly within our process. And as I'm a member of the Finance Committee of the CRPA as well, and I confirm that what is being requested here is that they conform to the policies of the CRPA to help the Finance Committee. So once again, this is easily achievable for the CRPA. We're not asking them for anything that they're not able to do. It's just a resolution that'll be useful in order to really put focus on the things that we found important to help us in our process in helping the CRPA. I just wanted to confirm you that as a member of the committee. Okay, thank you. Any further comments? Councillor Godet. Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a question. I understood this after reading it. It's just that 6 months before our budget, which we usually study in November, that means we should have this report in June. Well, this is what is being asked, but usually we have our meetings in June, July, and August, so we're asking them to respect the process because the CRPA, their budget year goes from April 1st to March 31st, so we have to work with that as well. Okay, so it's just, well, I was just wondering 6 months, if in June or July we should have We should have, well, the objective is having all this information before we start our budget process, ideally. Thank you. Anybody else? If there are nobody else, well, let's vote. All those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. It's carried as presented.
Maintenant, au 11.2, nomination.
11.2 appointments for expansion Dieppe. Mr. Melanson. So there are two positions that were vacant. One was one that was appointed by the mayor. So Mr. Gilles Savoy is the mayor's recommendation. And the second person is not named by the board of directors. And the nominee in this case is Emmanuel Duguay. So, and this is for a term ending June 1st, 2027. Who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Turgeon-Roy, please. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council appoint Gilles Savoy and Emmanuel Duguay on Expansion Dieppe's Board of Directors for a term ending June 1st, 2027. I so move. Moved by Councillor Turgeon-Roy, seconded by Councillor, seconded by Councillor Lantin. On the question. Seeing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution carries as presented. Moving on now to operations. 11.3.1, tender award. 3 articulated tractors. And this is for when there's snow, but this is following an RFP. We are recommending to go with that the city go with Atlantic Coastal Equipment at the cost of $545,389.09 plus HST. We received 3 bids. 2 were retained for consideration, and this was the lowest bidder. So we're submitting this for your approval. All right, who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Gaudette, please. Thank you, Your Worship. The Council award the tender for the purchase of 3 articulated tractors, 2025 McLean MV6 model for the Operations Department to Atlantic Coastal Equipment at the cost of $545,389.09 plus HST, pursuant to its proposal dated December 19th, 2024, and authorize that this expenditure be defrayed from the following accounts: $363,592.73 plus HST from account number 3-2-20-12-7901, General Capital Budget, Equipment Purchase, Public Works, for the purchase of 2 articulated tractors, and $181,796.36 plus HST from account number 3-2-20-12-7903, General Capital Budget, Equipment Purchase, Facilities, for the purchase of 1 articulated tractor. I so move. Moved by Councillor Gaudette, seconded by Councillor Jeannet. On the question. Seeing no questions. Oh, sorry, Mr. Thibodeau, go ahead. I will be voting in favor of the resolution, but I just have a question with regarding the evaluation criteria. I know we're heading, you know, because of ecology is ecological interests are becoming more important. I'm just wondering if this criteria should be changed. It's not a question, it's a question. All right, it's a question, I've noted. Staff is here, so they do the analysis. But are there more ecological versions or environmentally friendly versions? We'll be looking at that as well. All right, anyone else? Those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution carries as presented. Moving on to another tender award, 11.3.3 2 for 2 drinking water pumps. Okay, it's time to replace. 2 pumps need to be replaced. And the bids were received, and one stop electric motor repair had the lowest bid at the cost of $98,860, $76 rather. So we're recommending that the city go with this provider. All right, Councillor Thibodeau, please read the resolution for us. Thank you, Your Worship. That council award the tender for the purchase of 2 drinking water pumps with motor, Gold's Pump NSF 61 model, to One Stop Electric Motor Repair at the cost of $98,876 plus HST, and authorize this expenditure to be defrayed from account number 4-3-90-12-7907, Water and Sewer Capital Budget, Asset Management, Water and Sewer. I so move. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Lantang on the question. Question from Councillor Godet. Thank you, Your Worship. This might be a question for Mr. Book. My question is this. Are both pumps from the same station? Oh, sorry, I was waiting for him to answer, but thank you. Yes, it's for the same station, the airport station. And these are the pumps that yes, the territory is bigger now. Now we have a water main that's been added for the eastern part. And well, okay, that's my second question. Some use the same pump, and some are, in some cases, the second pump is only used when it's needed. So, well, there is an alternation between both. I can't tell you which one is used. One is used more than others. You know, there are different factors that result in us using the second, but they're both being used in alternation. That's a question I had. One is only used when it's needed, but no, both operate from, and it's important that they operate. And then what are we do? My second question is, what are we going to be doing with the older pumps then? That's a good question. I'll have to look to see if we're going to declare them surplus and then sell them. So, well, maybe we could sell them, or maybe even recycle them, so that we can have them in our inventory if we need them. They still have a bit of life left in them. So, okay, well, I'll make a note of that, and we'll follow up on it. All right, thank you. Any other questions? I don't see any. So let's go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution passes. 11.3.2 passes as presented, which brings us to 11.3.3. Purchase of temporary water pipes. So with all the projects that are on our list and that to begin this year, we have to increase our inventory so that we can bring temporary water lines in areas that are under construction. So we need to increase our inventory. So we're recommending to go with Wolseley Canada, the cost of $62,618, and that will allow us to go and increase our capacity and the inventory. All right. Who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Rideau, please. Thank you, Your Worship. That council authorized the purchase of temporary water pipes for 3 capital projects to Wolseley Canada Inc. at the cost of $62,618.14 plus HST, and further authorize this expenditure to be defrayed from the following accounts: $23,473.08 plus HST from account number 4-3-90-58-7678, Water and Sewer Capital Budget, Grand Prix, La Tour Notre-Dame and Thibodaux Water Main Replacement, $19,572.53 plus HST from account number 4-3-90-58-7677, Water and Sewer Capital Budget, Cop Street Reconstruction and Water Main Replacement, and $19,572.53 plus HST from account number 4-3-90-58-7676, Water and Sewer Capital Budget, Sainte-Thérèse Street Reconstruction and Water Main Replacement. I so move. So, and seconded by Councillor Lantaigne on the question. Oh, just I'd like to specify something. So the first resolution was for $23,473.08, not instead of 24,000. So just to specify, just to clarify that. All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution passes as presented. Oh, did you have a question? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed you. Go ahead. I just have a question. You know, we often ask this question, and maybe there's a right answer, but I'm going to ask it again. So I read the entire document, and there was only one bidder. And we have dealerships in Dieppe who, and maybe may or may not have been interested. So what's the explanation for that? So yes, thank you. Yes, we do suppliers in the region that can provide this type of pipe. And we do order from both. It depends on what we order, but we do order from both companies. And we wanted something, in this case, we wanted something that was compatible with what we have. We always order the same thing so that it works with the pipes and the valves that are in place already. So yes, there are two companies. The other company, at one point, you know, we buy different types of products from them. Okay, well, it was just a question. You know, based on what I read, we only received one bid, but we got what we were looking for. It's also a question of availability as well. We needed these supplies in time for the work. Does anybody's votes change? Does anybody want to change their votes? All right, so we'll move on. Municipal bylaws now. Bylaw A8, 2025, respecting the pension plan for the employees of the city of Dieppe. Mr. Melançon, I don't know if you have any comments. No, we're just wanting the summary reading of the summary summarizes what the changes. So I will let that speak for itself. All right, who would like to? Oh, and then we're doing the third reading by title only. All right, so we'll start with the reading of summary. Who would like to do that? Councillor Thibodaux. Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw A8, 2025, a bylaw of the Municipality of Dieppe respecting the pension plan for the employees of the City of Dieppe. Pursuant to the authority vested in it by the Local Governance Act, SNB, Chapter 18, and the Pensions Benefit Act, Chapter 5(1), the Council of the Municipality of Dieppe, duly assembled, enacts as follows. The sections and schedule of bylaw 8.8/2025 remain unchanged from those set out in bylaw 8.8/2024, adopted on September 23rd, 2024, with the exception of the following amendments to Schedule A, entitled Pension Plan for the Permanent Employees of the City of Dieppe. Amendment to Article 3, membership, to include the employee categories that apply to the different conditions for the start date of membership in the City of Dieppe's plan. Deletion of paragraph 3.6, relating to the administrator's right to exempt any employee from the plan's eligibility requirements. And amendment to paragraph 8.2 concerning reimbursement to a spouse where applicable in the event of, or rather, amendment to the pension plan contribution rate for category C unionized employees. And finally, amendment to paragraph 8.2 concerning reimbursement to a spouse where applicable in the event of a member's death prior to retirement and before the normal retirement date. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Brideau on the question. I see no questions, so all those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution passes at the reading of summary stage. Now we'll go to third reading by title only. Councillor Thibodeau. Microphone, please. Right, thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw A8/2025, a bylaw of the Municipality of Dieppe respecting the pension plan for the employees of the City of Dieppe. I so move in third reading by title only. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Brideau, I believe, on the question. Seeing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution carries as presented. Notice of motions. All right, inquiries and announcements by members of council. Councillor Godette. I said what I had to say already. I have nothing else to add. Thank you. Councillor Jeannet now. I would like to invite you to the Capitol Theatre this year from February 21st to March 3rd. The theatre will be presenting a musical called The Addams Family. It's entirely produced here with a team of local artists and from around Canada as well. I went to the first representation on Monday, and we loved it. So I strongly encourage you to go. There are some local touches there in the script as well, so it's really quite funny. And I also invite you or urge you to look at their programming. And with regard to Café, I don't know if you saw their video on social media, but since its creation in 2005, Café has had the honor of celebrating its 10,000th person served. So I wanted to congratulate Café, and that's it for me. All right, yes, they do. Café does a great job. They've been doing a good job for a long time. You know, when we think of where they started and where they are now, it's really been spectacular. So congratulations to them. Councillor Brideau. There you go. Thank you, Your Worship. Well, listen, February is coming to an end. March holidays will begin, so we'll wish our young students a good spring break and a good break for our parents as well. They will probably get out and try to get out and enjoy the winter. Thank you, Councillor Thibodeau.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. J'ai rien pour ce soir.
Thank you, Your Worship. No, I have nothing this evening. Thank you, Councillor Turgeon-Roy. Thank you, Your Worship. I have a request for information and an announcement this evening. For my request for information, it's really in two parts. I'm looking towards Marc, but also Angèle. Last year, we had had a plan for the improvement of different pedestrian crosswalks. Are we going to do the same thing again this year with spring coming for the different crosswalks? The pedestrian crosswalks, right? Yes. Now, related to that, I'm more talking about Bourg and Centrale Street. There are a number of crosswalks. The one by the school, there's not a problem, but there's more and more traffic at the one that's a little higher up. So I often see these near misses, near misses almost hitting pedestrians. You can't really see the crosswalks because they're in a blind hill sometimes, especially on Centrale Street, and on Bourg Street. There's a greater number of residents, more and more traffic. And by Norbert Street, there's a crosswalk there, and people just don't pay attention. So it quite often happens that it's risky there. So I wanted to ask if it is, if we plans to improve those sections of Centrale and Bourg Streets. There are other challenges too, but I'd just like to know what the plans are for this summer. I'm just giving you a heads up because spring is around the corner. Thank you. I'll allow Ms. Spencer to answer, and then if I can add anything, I will. Thank you for the question. I don't have any details on improvements of these specific crosswalks, but I will discuss it with my team and we can come back. And I can add something. During the budget process, we had talked about some pilot projects at intersections that had been identified by certain members of council, and we had put money on a project for the different methods that are available. So that's part of the assessment that we can do. There might be areas as well that there are challenges. I think there were 2 or 3 areas that had been identified, Ms. Spencer, Noah, Gaspé, and Avant-Garde, yes, in front of the park. And that was done. So with a new system was put in place. So it's being tested currently, and we'll see, we want to see other areas that we might identify. Yeah, well, questions are going to start coming in, so it'd be nice to know. It's one thing to do things in an ad hoc manner without a plan, and people wanted the same thing. We want to be able to present you a plan when it's prepared. Thank you. I have another question on something else that we had seen in the past. It's more a question of follow-up. At the intersection of Vanier and Amiro Streets, when you're in the lane to turn left, at one point we had looked at the possibility of improving it to better identify the left-hand turn. Something else that was mentioned to me is that there are no lights at that corner in the evening, and it's very dangerous for pedestrians who try to cross the street there. And people are always in a hurry to turn left because but everybody's in a hurry, and it's not very clear. It's very difficult. You can't see very well there. So I'm just wondering if there's any plans to improve that that intersection. Other citizens had asked the question, I know, as well. Yes, I'm noting this, and I'll come back with some details. I know I have to talk to Marc-André. I know there had been some analysis, but I don't have the details. Thank you. And now I have an announcement. I'd like to congratulate the organizers of the Boreal tournament in Dieppe. It was organized by Hockey Dieppe and Memramcook. Once again, it's a fabulous organization. It went over very, very well, and several of our teams won some great honors in a number of categories, including the Eagles, the Dieppe Eagles. So I'd like to thank all of the volunteers because it's a lot of organization, a lot of work, and the staff, the city staff as well. It really went over very well. Did I go over my 4 minutes? No, thank you. Thank you. Have a good week. Thank you. Councillor Godbout, thank you. Yeah, you stole my thunder there. I wanted to congratulate the organizers. Yeah, there were so many. Yeah, we spent a lot of time in the arenas this weekend. Yes, Yes, in our wonderful facilities that we use, but it was really nice to see teams from outside come and they were able to benefit from everything. It was really a great activity here that we'd like to congratulate the organizers. I have a comment and a question as well. I'd like to come back on the last meeting of the CRPA board because I'm taking advantage of the presence of Superintendent Jolette here this evening. At the last meeting of the CRPA, we had the regional manager of the Canadian Parole Board was here. We had almost 100 individuals that are in the communities currently, the 3 communities, and we were talking about the very low level of people who have a repeat incident of severe crime while they're on parole. But they also talked about the excellent cooperation that they have with the CRPA and the RCMP. And that's important because when they assess a possible parolee, they contact the regional police, they need feedback, and they receive excellent collaboration from our regional police force, which isn't the case everywhere. So this is work that isn't seen in what they do. This is activities that are never seen. So, but it is work that they do well. And so I'd like to congratulate them for the excellent cooperation that was mentioned. But in the same presentation, there was a comment that was made on the budgets, which I found interesting. And they were talking about the cost of drugs in the community. And they talked about the presence of fentanyl. They talked about the cost of well, when the Narcan, something that can be given when somebody is in an overdose situation. So does this represent a high cost in our communities? They also talked about people, the firefighters who have to come to the scenes, who have to use different equipment. Have we seen an increase in the number in that in our budgets? Is that something that happens often? So I'd like to know if it's something that we see here as well, because it could be an indicator of something. I don't think that it's a high number of overdoses, but I'm just thinking it might be an interesting indicator. It's a different way of it's adds to the budget as well. So yeah, we'll have to ask Chief Cormier. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Lantaigne. Nothing this evening, Your Worship. Well, for me, no, I don't have much to add. Do you have something to add? I don't have anything to add either. Thank you to all members of council for your involvement every day within the community. We can see the results. It's very interesting to see, and the interaction with our staff as well it's very enriching as well. After a number of years of experience, it's really nice to see everybody working together, and we really have the results. Thank you. So thank you to everybody.